Good morning, beloveds. Still technically morning. And I'm going to sit very still and hope that I don't knock the camera over. Because as you can see, I have a new background because I am somewhere else. This is my mother's Christmas tree. So which means that I'm going to tell you that it's a stack of presents that are holding the camera up today. Which is why the angle's a little. But we're doing the best we can, right? Because it's Christmas Eve. That means it is December 24th. And our title is God's Action Through Me is Complete. And our quote is, rewards are obtained according to one's heart. And that is from the Garland Sutra 10. The Lord God, omnipotent, acts through me. All power seeks release through me. All love uses me as its channel. My spiritual responsibility I now accept, knowing that the one mind focalizes its ideas through my consciousness. I determine to let God alone think in me today. If I expect the law of mind to produce increased good for me, then I must do my part in the process. I must produce increased good for me. I must affirm God's actions in me and act as a spiritual being. This means I cannot be a difficult or unkind person. I must seek to understand my fellow human and each situation as it arises. If I do not always have my own way, I must see this as right action and agree with it. As I open my whole mind to the influx of truth, I must be willing to let go of all my petty beliefs. Much of my everyday thinking is not worthy of Spirit who created me. I cannot love truth and at the same time find fault with my work, my family, and my friends. I now must decide to live as though every spiritual belief I have were an actual fact. The teachings of Jesus were that I do this, and now I will. I refuse to be depressed and unhappy. I know that the action of God is taking place in me and producing for me my good, and I let it happen. No more pettiness for me. I think in terms worthy of the mind that indwells me. The whole action of truth is upon me, within me, and around me. I give it full control of my thinking and feeling. The Lord is in its holy temple within me and now expresses from me. God in the midst of me is mighty to produce right results around me. The labor is no longer mine, for God that is within me does God's perfect work, and I rejoice in immediate results. Miracle follows miracle, and glory appears on every hand. All people shall call me blessed, and all people everywhere shall rejoice in my presence. I move from good to more good as I let God determine what needs to be done. God's action through me at this moment is complete, and beauty appears now. All right, does anybody feel called out by this one? I mean, it's Christmas Eve. What were you expecting? Ernest and Raymond both kind of sat down and said, all right, you know what? Today of all days is the day that we're going to look at what we think, how we act, and it's a reminder. I like how he used the word spiritual responsibility. It's a reminder to us that we have to treat and move our feet. It's like we can pray for all the good we want, but unless we're willing to get out and take action and move in the direction of our dreams, I want to say that's Thoreau, could be Emerson, it's not going to come to us. So we have spiritual responsibilities. And he lined out a whole bunch of spiritual responsibilities in this one. All right, so God's action through me is complete, which we are taking as a statement of fact. All right, the action through us is God's action through us. And it is complete as long as we are following through. And right there, rewards are obtained according to one's heart. If that does not set you back on your heels, either in a good way or a bad way, then you're not paying attention. Okay? What's in your heart? What is it that you really want? And I would almost say, is your heart clean? I don't mean it that way, though. Is your heart clear? Is your heart heavy? You know, what's going on in there? Because that's what's going to be reflected in your outside world. All right, so the Lord God, omnipotent, I'm the omni words today. The Lord God, omnipotent, acts through me. It's a thank you. That was my mom. Acts through me. You are the activity of God in this world. All of the things that God does through people. So you are the activity of God through the world. All power seeks release through me. Now the next line. All love uses me as its channel. How does love enter this world? Through us. So one of our calls to action, especially on Christmas Eve, is to act more fully as that channel of love. My spiritual responsibility I now accept. Now he's going to proceed to tell us all of our spiritual responsibilities. Knowing that the one mind, and he's making up words, focalizes. I'm not sure that's a real word, but Ernest makes up his own words though. So, knowing that the one mind focalizes its ideas through my consciousness, I determine to let God alone think in me today. What does that mean? God alone think in me. That means that all of the thoughts that we are going to have today, we are consciously choosing to have all of the ones that align with the qualities of God. We are going to think joyful thoughts. We are going to think loving thoughts. We are going to think creative thoughts. We are going to think peaceful thoughts. We are going to think happy thoughts. And what we would call quote unquote negative thoughts are okay too. Because grief, if that's what's going on for you this Christmas, that's still love. All right? It's a love missed, but it's still. So if you're not thinking, you know, if you're facing something where you're in grief this Christmas and you think you're beating yourself up because you should be happy, no. Grief is still a loving thought. All right? It's a love missed. So allow yourself that. That is still God's thought. If I expect the law of mind to produce increased good for me, then I must do my part in the process. This is where he's literally saying, yeah, you got work to do too. You got work to do too. The Spirit can only move us when we're willing to move. I must affirm God's action in me and act as a spiritual being. Okay, we've already talked about this. We're aligning with those qualities of God. This means I cannot be a difficult nor unkind person. And this is where do you feel called out? I try not to be unkind. That's why I practice the act of kindness every day for myself. Am I difficult? Oh, heck yeah, I'm difficult. I'm difficult with myself. I'm difficult with people that love me. And so today I'm being called out and being reminded, hey, you know what? Sometimes you need to let things go. Because in a little bit, he's going to say, well, if you're not getting your own way, sometimes you just have to accept that. So, yeah, I'm definitely feeling a little called out today. I must seek to understand my fellow person and each situation as it arises. All right. The gift of understanding. If I do not always have my own way, I must see this as right action and agree with it. That's where I'm difficult. That's where I can be difficult because I know I'm right. I know I'm right. But I'm not always right, and sometimes I need to be willing to let that go. As I open my whole mind to the influx of truth, I must be willing to let go of all of my petty beliefs. And that's where, if you've had heartfelt living, where we talk about the spiral. Sometimes we have beliefs that we're not aware of. And so it's very helpful if we suddenly see a belief crop up, that we examine it. We open we open the book of ourselves and go, all right, I didn't realize I believed this. What do I need to do about it? Maybe it's time to let that belief go. Much of my everyday thinking is not worthy of him who created me. All right, you know what? I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I think that if you have been doing your work, then your everyday thinking can be worthy of the spirit that created you. And if you think it's not, then yeah, absolutely. Then it points to where you have work to do. And if you're thinking thoughts and you go, you know what, I don't think that's worthy of God, then that's just a call to action to you. Don't beat yourself up over that. All right. It's just a reminder but it's also a reminder of how much of our thinking is unconscious, how much we do by habit, by rote, where we are not aware of what we're thinking. I cannot love truth and at the same time find fault with my work, my family, and my friends. My work, which means I cannot love truth if I'm constantly picking at myself. All right. So here, ironically, one of your spiritual responsibilities is to give up finding fault with yourself. It doesn't mean that we can't work on ourselves. It doesn't mean that there's not room for improvement. It just means there's no point in beating ourselves up over it. What we can do is change. Or adjust. Sometimes all we need is a minute adjustment. I now decide to live as though every spiritual belief I have were an actual fact. All right. And then he goes into the teaching of Jesus. The teachings of Jesus were that I do this and now I will. So all of those lessons that we have learned about loving ourselves, loving our neighbors, loving our community, loving the world. That's a spiritual fact. Let's act as if. I refuse to be depressed and unhappy. Sometimes that's easier said than done. And I get that. And that's where the work is. I know that the action of God is taking place in me and producing for me my good, and I let it happen, which is a reminder that that the power of your good comes through you. It comes through you. Sophie. Sophie just snorted at me. Sophie's a big boxer. And just if she comes back, I'll show her to you. No more pettiness for me. I think in terms worthy of the mind that indwells me. You want to know what the mission today is? I bet you that's it. The whole action of truth is upon me, within me, and around me. God is where you are. God is all around you. God is within you. I give it full control of my thinking and feeling. Remember that channel of love that we're called to be? The Lord in the holy temple within me. Wait. This is if I leave out articles. The Lord is in the holy temple within me and now expressed forth from me, because it is my choice how much I let express through me. All right. So the more open you are, the more willing you are to let God express through you, the more good then you have the power to channel through. God in the midst of me is mighty to produce right results around me. The labor is no longer mine. For God that is within me does God's perfect work. It's a reminder to us that we are plugged into an inexhaustible source, all right? An inexhaustible source of power, of health, of vitality, of love, of peace, of joy. An inexhaustible source. So I rejoice in the immediate results, Miracle follows upon miracle, and glory appears on every hand. And that's one of the things when I mentioned this a few days ago about expanding our definition of miracle. Because if we narrow it so much that nothing's a miracle, so it's kind of like, why not operate as if everything's a miracle? Absolutely. Absolutely. So all people shall call me blessed, and all people everywhere shall rejoice in my presence. Why are they rejoicing in my presence? Because I know who I am. I know that I am a beloved child of God. I know that I am an island of peace, an island of calm, that I bring that into the situation, that when people are around me, they feel free to be who they really are. All right? I mean, how much more blessed can you be? I want people to feel safe around me. I move from good to more good as I let God determine what needs to be done. And this is not me giving up control. This is me remembering who I am and remembering that I will always be guided in whatever is going on. Always be guided. God's action through me at this moment is complete, and beauty appears now. Okay, well, there is some absolute beauty over my shoulder, right? So beauty appears now. All right, so the mission today, should we choose to accept it, is absolutely, you heard it already, to think in terms worthy of the mind that indwells us, to align with those qualities of God that we know. Who do we know God to be? We know God to be peaceful. We know God to be loving. We know God to be joyful. We know God to be happy. So those are the terms that we are thinking in today. We are thinking in that divine mind. All right, beloveds? That's the mission. And the other mission is the same mission that I give you every day. To do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself. Whatever it is. It can be as small as 3 really deep breaths. Or it can be taking a day, an entire day of rest where you don't do anything. You let the dishes sit in the sink. You let the laundry sit. Unless you need it for work tomorrow. But well, tomorrow's Christmas. So there shouldn't be work tomorrow for most of us. I mean, there are those of us in the service industry. Yeah. Or in like the medical industry. So, but some days you need to give yourself a break. So, loving, kind, compassionate. You deserve it. All right? You are a beloved child of God. Please remember that. The mind that you are using is that mind. We are channels of that love. So, practice, practice, practice. Make that a habit so it becomes your first response. It is a spiritual practice. Absolutely. I firmly believe it. I firmly believe it. Okay. I would also suggest do something to engage your mind and your body today, whatever that looks like. I keep forgetting it's Friday. I was thinking it was Saturday. I'm just all discombobulated. But I don't have to work today. So, hence, I'm now sitting in my mother's living room. But I would also tell you to go get a face full of sun, but on the drive here, the sun went away. I don't know if I'm going to see the sun again. But I did get that face full of sun first thing in the morning when we got out on the road. So, and drink plenty of water. Whatever else you do, open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you, you do live in heaven. Right here, right now. It is all around you. As Emma says, look for the good and praise it. Okay, beloveds. It is Christmas Eve. I am wishing you a wonderful Christmas, a peaceful Christmas. I would like to wish you a restful Christmas. And I would also like to remind you that we are going to have an amazing Christmas Eve service for you. All right? At 7 p.m. And it will be both on Facebook Live and YouTube at the same time, so you can catch us either one. All right? So tune in for that. And have a Merry Christmas, beloveds. Know who you are. Always. And know that you're loved. I will see you tomorrow. I'm not sure what time, but I will do it. I'm not going to skip Christmas. Have a wonderful day, an amazing day, a fantastic day, a stunning day, a restful day, a merry day. I mean, it's Christmas, right? A merry day, a happy day, a peaceful day. I'm out of adjectives. I need some new ones. A good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day. You are enough just as you are. All right, beloveds, I'll see you next time. Have a good Christmas Eve.